Hello, my lovely dreamers. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to a new episode of True Crime Sunday. Today's story is the story of a woman who became famous all over the world. Not in a good way, of course. She was considered to be the first serial killer, the first woman serial killer in the history of Italy. So today I'm going to tell you the story of Leonarda Cianciulli, the soap maker of Correggio. I am pretty sure that you have heard about her, that you have already watched a lot of documentaries, most of them presenting the shocking part of her murders. It's something that seems to be extracted from a horror movie, but a horror movie that really existed. And the truth, the reality surrounding her character, because she has become a real character a long time, is not that horrifying. According to studies, according to journalists and professors at famous universities here in Italy, her murders were just made out of greed and for financial economic purposes. And she has invented all those terrifying stories in order to absolve her son and have the police release him. But up to nowadays, there is some kind of doubt concerning his son's implication in these murders, and somehow people still believe that he got away with murder or being part of or helping to get rid of, if you know what I mean. Those crimes happened in a time when Italy was pretty difficult to be shocked. It was the beginning of the Second World War. Italy had been already part in the World War II for 2 months, and these were very hard times. Leonarda was all by herself with 4 children to take care of, and her plan was very, very detailed, and she had previously thought of everything. I think she had tried once and it went very well, and then she went on, and I think that she hadn't been discovered, she would have continued. That is my opinion. There is also biography written by herself. Some people say that it was written by her lawyers, but some others say that it's definitely written by her. She was quite a smart woman who was into astrology and witchcraft and reading this kind of stuff and had a very nice collection of this kind of books. So she was perfectly capable of writing all those 800 pages in which she describes her horrifying acts in detail, which nowadays are not considered to be all of them real, because there was no evidence found supporting her stories. And but a thing is for sure, she succeeded to change herself into a real legend, into a myth. And nowadays children who don't want to go to sleep are she is some kind of boogie woman in the region where she lived. Mothers just tell their children, if you don't do this, if you don't, I will call Leonarda. So, but let's see why I think that she didn't do all those horrifying things after murdering her victims. And I have documented myself. I have read a lot of studies and articles written here in Italy concerning her case, and I'm not the only one who thinks this, and that her murders were just ordinary ones. The extraordinary fact was that they were committed by a woman, and they were made in order to get some financial advantages out of these, and that she had invented everything surrounding this in order to save her son and make the police release him from prison. Let's hear her story, and let me know in the comments what is your opinion. I know that extraordinary and more horrifying things sell better the story, but sometimes it's just better to know the truth. Oh, it was December 17th, 1939. Very difficult times for Italy. It was a cold day, a very cold day. But for Emelinda Faustina Setti, a spinster of 73 years old, that was a happy day. She walked directly to the hairdressers in the little town of Correggio. She was wearing high heels, and she was telling everyone that she was going to marry her Prince Charming somewhere far away in another town. She had her hair bleached. She was wearing a very red lipstick. And after that she went directly to her best friend Leonarda, who had previously arranged everything for her. Emelinda Faustina Setti was a spinster who had never given up dreaming of marrying, meeting her Prince Charming, and having her own family. He was kind-hearted, very naive, not very well educated. She could barely write and read. And she kind of believed everything you would tell her, someone would tell her. Her best friend Leonarda had just told her that she had found a husband in Pola, Croatia of today, part of Italy back then, and advised her to sell everything she owned and don't tell anyone about the plan because people might have got jealous. Faustina didn't know to read or write very well, so Leonarda helped her write some letters and postcards to friends so that she could send those letters when she would arrive to Pola to meet her Prince Charming. Leonarda was a very well-known figure in her little town. She was respected because she was a model. She was also the fortune teller. She could read palms, and she made the best cakes and cookies in the whole region, which she loved sharing with her friends and all those who entered her house. She was a motherly figure. She seems to be very kind, and she was always eager to help anyone who needed her help. So, Emelinda Faustina Sette trusted her completely. She entered her house on the 17th of December 1939 and never got out of that house again. On the 5th of September next year, 1940, another old lady, 55, was considered to be quite old back then, named Clementina Francesca Soavi, came also to visit Leonarda for the last time. Clementina Francesca had always dreamed of becoming a teacher. She loved teaching, she loved children, and she enjoyed helping children after school with their homework. She had at her house what we today call an after school. And Leonarda again had told her that she found a very nice job for her in Piacenza as a principal of a girl college in Piacenza. Again, she had told her to be very, very discreet, not tell anyone. She was invited to have a nice cup of coffee and never ever was seen again. Leonarda got only 3,000 lire this time. And then she wanted more and told everyone that Francesca let her sell all her goods, assets, furniture, and she did so and kept the money, of course. Giuseppe, Peppe, Peppino, her older son, went directly to Piacenza to send the letters and the postcard. So after all these murders, her son, her innocent son, Peppe Peppino, went to Piacenza or to Pola just to post those postcards and letters so that they would have the stamp from that very town. The third victim. It was the 30th of November 1940. Virginia Cacioppo. She was an ex-soprano, was an opera singer, who was quite famous back in her youth, and who was very unhappy to spend her years in a little town like Correggio. This time Leonarda made a mistake, and you will see what kind of mistake. I think she got too greedy. Virginia had some money. She was considered quite rich. So Leonarda promised her a job in Firenze, which is Florence, a job as a secretary for an opera theatre, with a perspective of getting an audition later. She was advised to write those letters again. She did so, and she left everything that she owned to Leonarda, of course. And again, after visiting her dear friend Leonarda, nobody had ever seen her again. But this woman had a family, and her sister-in-law started to have doubts. She went directly to the police, telling them that except 2 postcards from her sister-in-law, didn't receive anything else, and that she's really worried. And police didn't do anything at first. They considered that she probably went and found a lover or something in Florence and forgot about her family back there in Correggio. But her sister-in-law kept on insisting and tried to investigate by herself. And in a very small village or town, people used to gossip, and they gossip a lot, as they used to gossip about the relationship between Leonarda and her older son. I don't even want to think about this, but people back then gossiped that it wasn't quite natural because it was some kind of obsessive love. And they also gossiped that these three women was last seen in Leonarda's company, and they were last seen entering their house. So the police went to investigate, and they found some evidence, some human remains, and the priest also went to the bank with a share belonging to Virginia Cacioppo, who was already missing, and he told them that he had received that share from Leonarda. So Leonarda and her son were both arrested, but is now the period in which Leonarda had desperately tried to invent a story in order to make the police release her son, because the police considered that she was too tiny. She was just 1 meter and 50 and didn't have that force to get rid of three women, and they thought that the son helped with getting rid of the corpses and stuff. I myself think that it is impossible not to know what was going on, taking into account the fact that she told everyone that everything happened in her kitchen. So you prepare some fish for dinner and you need to clean a lot after. Imagine having to section the bodies of 3 women. It's impossible to live in that house and not notice that there wasn't anything unusual. So she said that she did everything by herself, that all these killings were committed all by herself, that her son didn't have anything to do with this, that she had melted the bodies into caustic soda and got rid of them partially in the septic tank, and used other parts to make soap and to make as ingredients for making biscuits. There was no evidence found in order to support her stories. There were found a little bit of soap and milk, but it was considered that she tried to make soap, but she didn't succeed. She tried somehow to get rid of them in some way, but she couldn't do this completely. Her neighbors and friends said that they hadn't received any type of cookies, biscuits, or soap from her. So that was a myth, a legend created by herself. And I think she tried once, she got some real good material advantages. It was okay, she tried again and again, and I really think that her son helped. This is my opinion. But she created another kind of story around herself in order to justify her acts. She said that she was a mother and did everything out of love for her sons and in order to save them. Let's see if we should believe her or not, and let's hear some facts about her life. I didn't feel compassion for this one. I felt compassion for Milena, but I think this lady was a very controlling, smart, calculating woman who knew exactly what he was doing and who had planned everything very detailed, and she knew how to sell herself, her image. She knew how to be in order to be trusted by the people around her. And everyone in Correggio respected and trusted her, but what they didn't know is the fact that what the people in Correggio didn't know was the fact that she had previously been condemned for theft and for scamming someone. She was able to commit fraud and tell to parents that were suffering for grieving because they lost their son in First World War. She told them that he was still alive, and she had to be paid in order to perform some kind of ritual to bring their son back to them. That was pure cruelty. Although she wanted to seem very kind and helpful, she was a cruel, calculated woman who was perfectly capable of killing 3 grown-up women in order to get some material advantages out of this. Leonarda Cianciulli was born in Montella in 1894. There is another legend about her, that she was born out of a rape, and that her mother was forced to marry her father. But this is another legend, another fake story about her. She was born in a perfectly normal Italian family, but she was an unwanted child because she was the last child in the family. It wasn't planned. Her mother didn't want her, and somehow didn't really like her, and she didn't feel loved. And as a child, and later as a teenager, she had tried to take her life 3 times. Her mother, after her father's death, forced her to sell her body in the street in order to get money. wanted to force her to marry a cousin, but Leonarda ran away from home and married Raffaele Pansardi, clerk. Leonarda was 23 when she got married, and her mother cursed her. And Leonarda really believed in her mother's curse all her life. She had indeed a very difficult life. She had 17 pregnancies, but only 4 children survived. And back in those times it was somehow normal. There were hard times, but she considered that it was her mother's curse, and she had struggled to find a cure, a reverse, to stop this curse. So she began reading different books, and she went very often in the Gypsy community to have her palm read, and some fortune teller predicted told her that she saw a madhouse in one hand and a prison in the other hand. Also, another fortune teller told her that all her children would die, and that she needed to do something in order to neutralize that prediction. She would later write in her autobiography that she used to dream her children's little coffins, and she also had a dream about a figure who came into her dream and told her to perform 3 human sacrifices, a life for a life, in order to save her children. So she said that she was afraid that her sons will have to go to war, but one of her sons was too young for this, and the other, the famous Peppino, volunteered himself, but he was rejected, so there was no reason to perform those human rituals at that point. But the thing is, she used to love her sons obsessively. She would have been able indeed to do anything for them. In 1946, the 12th of June, her trial began in Reggio Emilia, and Cianciulli was accused of killing Faustina Setti, Francesca Soavi and Virginia Cacioppo, and getting rid of their corpses. Her son Giuseppe Peppino was also accused, along with her, as an accomplice. But the soap maker declared herself innocent. She said, quote, "I am not guilty. And I don't want that my son would assist to my trial. I will tell you everything that you want to know. But my son is innocent, and I don't want him to listen what I'm going to tell. And Goat, to defend herself, because she was accused of theft, Cianciulli said that she needed money because she really needed to perform those rituals in order to save her son. Concerning the killings, the soap maker told everything. So she told everything. I will not get into graphic details. You can find articles online about the way in which it describes everything. She was condemned to 30 years of in prison. But the psychiatrists considered that she was mentally ill, and she was locked in a madhouse, in a mental institute, where she had quite a good life. She died there at the age of 75. She had friends there. She was very charming. She knew exactly what she had to tell people in order to get their attention, to make them trust her. And as I have told you, there was no evidence supporting her story about the soap making and the cookies. In reality, everything had probably been just her creativity, imagination, who really needed to find an explanation in order to convince the judge that she really got rid of the corpses all by herself. So, the story of the soap maker of Correggio has become somehow a legend, as the case of a serial killer who, after had taken the lives of her victims, melted the corpses into caustic soda to turn them into soap and used the blood to make cookies, to bake cookies, which she offered to her family and friends. But in reality, these are just ordinary killings, just to rob them. In spite of everything, the case of Leonarda Cianciulli still represents a case unique in the whole world. Just let me know in your comments, what do you think? You prefer to believe in the legend created around her, or you think, just like me, that she was only a greedy, cunning, smart, controlling and charismatic old lady who just found a way of making money in a period when it was really difficult to earn money. Thank you very, very much for watching or listening. See you next time. Bye bye.